Changing Minds, Changing Lives. The Liaison and Diversion Diaries. A podcast run by frontline workers discussing all things criminal justice in relation to multiple and complex needs. Our Liaison and Diversion service supports people with vulnerabilities in custody, courts, prison and the community, helping to bridge the gaps for people accessing services. Tune in for our monthly podcast, where we will feature guests from all walks of life discussing issues affecting us in the here and now.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Liaison and Diversion Diaries, Changing Minds and Changing Lives. Today we will be discussing our community team, known as the Outreach Service. We will also look at the support they offer and some of the projects currently running in the community. Today's guests are, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Binal. I'm the Outreach Lead for the Liaison and Diversion Service.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm the team leader for the peer mental services at Shelter.
Hiya, I'm Sadia. I work for No Wrong Door. I'm an outreach worker.
Okay, hi guys.
Hello.
So, if we kick off, can you tell us what a typical day in outreach looks like and what kind of support you offer service users?
So, there's no real typical day on outreach. Every day is different. But I suppose the general way of how we get our referrals and how we practice things. So we get our referrals from other L&D teams, so out of area teams like Coventry, Dudley, could be London. We get referrals from the custody practitioners, court practitioners, and they've already been assessed and needs have been identified. So once they've come to outreach, the practitioners will screen the referral and identify where the referral might be suitable if it's not already been identified.
So you all work for L&D, but not all of you are employed by the NHS. How does that work? What's the partnership?
So L&D staff work within the NHS. But I think we established earlier on that actually working with partner agencies outside of the NHS organisation was really important. So we built links and partnerships with Shelter, No Wrong Door and Anna Wim. And the way it works is that they get the referrals from L&D, but we allocate the clients or the practitioners that do the assessment will decide which pathways would work best for the client. So then we'll allocate them to Sadia or to the peer mentors or to the Anna Wim staff, and they'd work with that client, but they're honorary NHS staff, so they have access to our systems, which means they can see the notes that have been put on by Birmingham and Solihull Mental Health Foundation Trust, which gives them a lot more information than just the referral form would. They'd have a risk assessment on there, assessment summaries, previous history of mental health. So it builds up a better picture, and I suppose it means that clients don't always have to repeat their story like Sadia was saying. If they want to, that's not a problem. But there are clients that they've said, I've already said that to so many people, and actually it just gives us a bigger picture. And then we do weekly or 2 weekly caseload meetings. So So if it was me and Christine, for example, we'll meet with the peer mentors to go through each of their cases to see that actually what needs are being identified, how we're working together, how we're linking in with other agencies.
So I work for Shelter, which is obviously a homelessness charity, for those of you who don't know, who I haven't mentioned before. So a lot of campaigning against poor housing and improved access to housing, but in Birmingham a lot of our focus has been on multiple and complex needs and how we support differently individuals who are experiencing multiple disadvantage. And a big piece of that work has been the recognition that partnership is vital to it. There's no one organisation that can address everyone's needs at once. Not properly, so building links with other organisations that are specialists in a certain area is so important to getting that support right for an individual. So I often find, that in our caseload supervisions, obviously you've got a wealth of knowledge about the mental health system, having worked in it, having supported people through it, but also different things like health, physical health, for example, and knowing that system and the criminal justice system inside out. And then
I wouldn't say inside out.
okay, I retract that. She knows a little bit about the criminal justice system, just a little bit. And then you're bringing in the kind of the housing element from shelter, but also just the experience of working in the community, what resources are out there, and combined, that client's surely got a better outcome because you're bringing together different knowledge, different specialisms.
I suppose that's where No Wrong Door works really well as well, because under No Wrong Door are lots of different agencies, and like Sadia said, they work under one system, which means they can access those notes and read about their client, hand over information. So I suppose it's about putting all our knowledge from different areas into one place and sharing it so we can learn from each other.
And it's making things smoother as well, isn't it? Rather than having to fight with organisations going, please can you accept this client for support? You've kind of got pathways in place, so it's easier for the client to access the service they need without that justification of why they need it.
Yeah, and I think for frontline staff it avoids that pressure and risk that leads to burnout, because there's a sense of shared responsibility. It's not the idea that only I have to hold this person with all these needs and now I'm left with that person. No, you can hand them over to these different people and we can work together on it, and sharing information appropriately as well. So
essentially the staff do very similar things in how they support clients. It just might be the times are different, or the ways we work with the client might be different depending on whether they're more entrenched engagement, that kind of stuff. The basic idea is that we try and get people into the right services for them. The clients identify their own needs, and we try and support them to meet them. So it's very person-centred, it's about them. We make referrals onto other agencies, we'll support to first appointments, possibly second appointments. I suppose rebuilding trust within services. Christine?
Yeah.
More about the peer mentors.
So the peer mentors, we have 3 at the moment in Liaison Diversion Outreach team, and peer mentor within the prison liaison team. But they are all staff members who themselves have got lived experience. So at a minimum, they have been through the criminal justice system and have experienced mental health problems themselves. But more often than not, they've also experienced homelessness, substance misuse, domestic abuse. So it's quite a wide background that they have and a lot of knowledge that they bring. So the idea of the peer mentor service is that the peer mentors are more relatable to individuals who are still leading very chaotic life, who might not have trust in professionals and in services. And by sharing their experience, they're kind of showing that there's hope at the end of the tunnel. It's proven that there's better engagement rates with individuals that are still experiencing multiple complex needs at the moment.
Okay, cool. And Sadia, what about No Wrong Door?
So the No Wrong Door service consists of No Wrong Door members, and these members are all different delivery service providers that provide support to clients with 2 or more of the multiple and complex needs, so that's substance misuse, mental health, offending behaviour, and homelessness. So when they come through to the No Wrong Door service, we have access to a system where we record all of the client's record, which is called ICAP, and all of the No Wrong Door members have access to this system. So it's a one-stop kind of route where all clients come in and they don't need to keep repeating their story, and it's the idea of telling your story once, so that they come in and they access the support that is appropriate for them, and there's no wrong door in terms of they won't be sort of turned away. They'll be signposted elsewhere if they're not suitable for that service.
Okay. Is it just adults you support?
So the youth pathway currently consists of 1 practitioner and a support worker, and we work with children from the age of arrest on the youth pathway up until 18. At the moment, what we've noticed is that there's a lot of gang culture, there's a lot of knife crime, violent offences, and it is very worrying. So I think for our youth team, we are trying to look at ways that we can move young people away from that kind of lifestyle by offering them something else. So we've made loads of links with outside agencies that can support with activities, so that be it sport, music, and we've actually developed a pathway with Aston Villa, the VIP programme. So they can go to the ground, they can get a mentor that will support them through the process. So initially they do need a sports interest, but it doesn't have to be football. But if they identify other things that they're interested in, like music, or they want to go into educational stuff, then their mentors will support them through that pathway. And that is geared to kids at risk of being groomed or gang exploitation, child exploitation, and it's actually working really positively because it's given a young people some identity, that sense of belonging, but in a positive way, and then some goals to reach as well. So we are building on the youth pathway with developing links to other areas. We've got close links with youth offending teams. We do a lot of liaison with social workers because a lot of children may have come from troubled backgrounds or have safeguarding needs. So it's really important to make sure that we're all working together collaboratively to try and support young people. So we help youth as well, or we try. We've also got prison liaison outreach as well. So the prison liaison service supports people on short-term sentences. So and this is for adults, so what they'll do is they'll go into prison, do an assessment, identify needs that the client wants help with. So on the day of release, they'll then support them in the community, attending probation, CGL, getting appropriate housing, getting them registered to a GP.
With prison liaison, do they have to meet a certain criteria, or is it very much the same as outreach? I mean, in terms of the crimes they've committed, or is it just you offer help to everyone?
So it's got to be short-term sentences. So that, because obviously liaison and diversion comes from an ethos of short-term support intervention. So it's got to be short-term sentences. The cases are discussed at case meetings to identify if they meet the criteria. So that would be low-level risk, low to medium, and then more on their needs. So what is it that they need help with? Mental health, substance misuse. Do they have any support when they're going to be released? And what are their aspirations to, I suppose, change their life around? It will be discussed on a case-to-case basis and dependent on length of sentence.
Okay. Oh. So you talked a bit about projects you have going on in the community at the minute. Do you have any other projects happening at the moment other than Aston Villa for the youth? What about for adults?
We do lots of stuff actually in the community, and some of it involves having both staff and our clients or ex-clients involved in it. For example, podcasts like this. We also in the past have run podcasting workshops which included staff, ex-clients, current clients, where they were given, I think it was 6 to 8 sessions to learn how to podcast, how to do the editing, how to produce, and then had a final piece where each group had developed or what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Created a podcast. So that was really nice because it was a joint effort from all of us and partner staff as well. We've currently got a photography documentary project going on, and we've outsourced to a photographer who's working with us to capture the journey of clients and ex-clients and stories from the staff, because obviously you get lots of projects that have got like written output or audio output. This has a different element to it. So the photographer Ella is going around capturing our journey in different ways through photography, and it's really nice to have that kind of project with some written transcript as well. But it's nice to see that involves ex-clients, current clients, that people have given their consent for this to take place. We also work with Shelter in terms of supporting people with difficulties with court fines, housing, probation. So we set up small focus groups, I suppose, to discuss probation. How are they trying to tackle engaging with people that are in unstable accommodation? So myself and Christina have met up with one of the senior probation workers, identified key links.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's as you said, it's a systems change element to the work we do. So I don't know if you're going to do a separate podcast on the Justice Network.
We just might now.
I think that's such a key component of what you do in the outreach team, not only because it gives our clients a voice and a platform to speak, but it gives it gives them a continuous link to the L&D team. So even when the support's ended, they're never truly kind of away from the service. It's never truly ended. They can still contribute and they give back. And a lot of our peer mentors contribute to that. But there's only obviously one Matt Brayshaw. He's the chair.
He's lurking in the background.
But lots of good things have come out of that. So new services that are coming out for females. We've got a different forum coming up around elections, discussion of court fines, so real issues of the day that matter to our client groups. That's a real good chance to look into them and go a bit deeper.
Sadia, can you give an example of a case or someone that's come through to No Wrong Door and you supported them through their troubles, if we call it their troubles?
So recently, due to the lockdown, we've been providing mostly telephone support. So we still do home visits when sort of necessary, or if they're deemed at risk, or if we're doing any kind of well-being and safety checks with them. But generally, it's been over the phone. So I had a client, actually still got a client, and he's still open to us. He doesn't speak much English. I think I've spoken to Binal about him as well. So initially we had some access issues in terms of him accessing drug and alcohol services, mental health services, because of the language barrier. And what we found is that he didn't quite fit the mainstream services, even though they have interpreters available. It can still be really difficult. Because he's not able to open up or speak about what's going on for him, and it can be very factual and not very kind of emotion-led, or to put it better, I suppose not very empathetic way of working when you're working through an interpreter. So then I found some services that were specific to supporting him, and that could support workers that could actually speak the language that he speaks. And we found that when we did offer him that support, it really turned things around for him. So now he's not been misusing alcohol for about 3 months, since January. He's engaging really well. He's now linked into creative support, who offer support for mental health, and he's actually got a support worker he's going to get there who's going to be speaking Urdu, which is the language that he speaks, and he's ready to engage now. And he's also been offered support from social services, offered a support there where he gets daily social care needs support as well. So I think all of this support that's been put in place with him, it wasn't as straightforward for him to get there. He was open to us from, I think, June or July, and it's taken a very long time for him to be able to access what he needs. So it's really important to recognise that there's still gaps within services for people that have these needs, especially around language, understanding of culture, and I suppose being a bit more sensitive and empathetic towards people's needs, more than just the 4 needs that we work with. There's more complex needs than just that.
And I think that's a really good example, because you've shown that case has a number of needs that this man had, and you managed to, I suppose, keep persevering until you found a service that can help him. And I suppose it also goes back to, although we've got timescales, or we say someone works with us for 6 to 8 weeks, that just shows that actually in some instances we do have to extend it, because if you haven't found the right service, or appointments take a while and COVID has delayed things, and you can't just close someone, and we'd never do that. We try and find ways that we can support the client, and that's a really good example of what you've done during COVID as well. With it being a lot of telephone support, but you've got him to engage, keep going until you found something that's suitable, that meets his needs. And look, there's an outcome. He's been abstinent for 3 months. That's fantastic.
It's really brilliant stuff. And I think so throughout that period, we did go out and see him once. Myself and my colleague Gavin went out just once to go see him because he was in crisis, and that one visit made such a difference. And from that visit, he then was, he opened up to us and we didn't even realise all the things that were going on in his home, how he wasn't managing his self-care, and these are things that you can't see through the phone.
Yeah.
So I think it was that visit really opened us up to really what he needed and prompted us to kind of get social services helping him sooner, which was really, really good, yeah. So overall, I think he's done really well for himself. Yeah.
And it just shows as well that although you don't all work for the NHS, when you work with L&D, you are really in a partnership.
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah.
So I suppose my last question is, what advice would you offer to any individual who needs help but doesn't know where to start?
That's a good question. I need a minute to think about that. Then I'll start.
I feel like I've answered this before. I would always say, ask somebody. It could be your GP, it could be a friend, a colleague. Someone will know who to contact or give you advice on where to go. So if you are in custody, ask for L&D, or if you're in court, ask for L&D, and we'll try and help you. But I think the important thing is, unless you speak and unless you tell someone what's going on, people aren't going to know you need help. And obviously there's a lot of stigma around mental health and asking for help, and actually there's nothing wrong with it. It is okay to ask for help, and it is a difficult time at the moment. People are aware that each other are struggling. That could be staff, colleagues, clients, family, but actually there's nothing wrong with asking for help. The internet has loads of resources. Our trust has a site, so Birmingham and Solihull Mental Foundation Trust has a site on there with useful numbers. There's Samaritans, Mind Crisis Line. There are loads of things out there, and you might not find that one service is the right service for you, but don't give up hope and keep trying.
Within BVSC, we've created this website called Route to Wellbeing, so the number 2, and in there you just put in your postcode and it will come up with all the services near you, and these services are across the board. So whether that you need a food bank kind of organisation, whether you're looking for company and you just want a befriending service, or whether it is those more intense services such as mental health or substance misuse, there's a bunch of services on there, and there's some that are specific to specific communities as well. So if you're looking to connect with people that have similar interests to you or from similar cultural backgrounds as well, so it's got a lot of information on there as well. So I think it's like Binal said, with L&D we try and work with prevention, not crisis, so I think that's really important to kind of speak about.
And I think that's one of the benefits that probably has come out of COVID, is that it's moved services more into the community. So whereas before there might be one central point of access to that certain service, and that's 9 to 5, now there is definitely more of an emphasis in the community taking responsibility, more community groups, more organisations even just delivering food to people. Everyone's really come together, so there is more opportunity to approach them and go, actually I need support, and there's lots more pathways into support services now.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. Be sure to check out our monthly podcast, and if you want to reach out, you can contact us via our webpage at bsmhft.nhs.uk. If you are someone who has been affected by any of the topics covered, please remember you can access help. Information for our services is listed on our website.